Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English with Lisaa. I'm so glad you joined me today because I have a very special story for you, a dark, suspenseful thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat. This story is full of mysteries, secrets, and moments that will make your heart race. As we go through it, I'll also explain some important vocabulary and phrasal verbs so you can learn English while enjoying the story. Make sure you pay close attention, imagine every detail, and try to picture the scenes in your mind. It makes the story even scarier and more exciting. I promise you'll feel like you are walking right alongside the main character, experiencing every shadow, whisper, and chill. Another tip is to repeat new words and phrases out loud while listening. It will help you speak English more naturally. By the end, not only will you enjoy a thrilling tale, but you'll also have picked up lots of useful English expressions. So get comfortable, relax, and let your imagination take over as we dive into the dark and mysterious world of today's story. Now, let's begin and see what secrets and surprises are awaiting in the shadows. The night was unusually quiet, almost like the world was holding its breath. I walked along the empty street, my footsteps echoing against the cracked walls of old houses, and my heart kept beating faster with every step. From the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow flicker, and I froze instantly, unsure if it was real or just my imagination. The streetlights above flickered and buzzed, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to stretch toward me. A soft whisper brushed past my ears, almost calling my name, Jenny, Jenny, and I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I spun around quickly, but the street was completely empty, only the night pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. I told myself it was my imagination, but the feeling of being watched refused to leave. Ahead, a narrow alley looked darker than the rest of the street, almost daring me to step inside. On the ground, a photograph fluttered slightly, as if it had been waiting for me. I bent down and picked it up, hands trembling, and gasped. It was me, younger, standing somewhere I had no memory of visiting. The cold wind made the photograph flap like it was alive, and I felt an urgent need to leave, but my feet wouldn't obey. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me, slow and deliberate, sending ice through my veins. I spun around again, but there was nothing, only darkness that seemed to stretch on forever. The stories I had heard about this street flashed in my mind. People disappearing, shadows moving on their own, and I wished I hadn't remembered them. A gate appeared at the end of the street, rusted and ominous, yet it swung open as I approached, inviting me in. I hesitated, listening to my own heartbeat, but something invisible seemed to pull me forward. Inside, the mansion smelled of decay, dust, and something older, heavier, almost alive. A whisper echoed again, closer this time, brushing against my ear in the cold silence. The walls were lined with cracked portraits. The eyes of the people stared as if they were judging me. The staircase groaned beneath my feet as I climbed, each step announcing my presence to the empty house. A shadow moved across the hallway above me, quick and deliberate, vanishing as if it didn't want me to see it. The door at the top of the stairs slammed shut behind me with a loud bang, and I realized the house was aware of me. The whisper grew louder, almost pleading, "You shouldn't be here." The air felt thick, heavy, alive, pressing against me from every side. A door ahead was slightly open, and a faint light spilled into the hallway, promising secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to uncover. I took a deep breath and stepped closer, the darkness closing in around me, feeling as if the house itself was breathing. My heart pounded in my chest, every nerve alert, every shadow fiending to move just out of sight. I couldn't stop now. I had to know what was waiting beyond that door. The silence was unbearable, broken only by my own shallow breathing and the faint creak of the floorboards. I reached the door, my hand shaking, as I pushed it open slowly, trying to steady myself for what I might see. The room beyond the door was small and dusty, filled with papers, old books, and photographs that seemed decades old. On a desk lay a letter addressed to me, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. I picked it up, my fingers trembling, and read the words aloud. "The past will find you." A cold draft made the papers flutter like wings, and my heart raced with fear. The portraits on the walls suddenly seemed different. The faces were smiling, unnaturally wide and sinister. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, making my skin crawl and my stomach twist. A door upstairs slammed shut, echoing like a gunshot, and I jumped at the sound. I looked around desperately, trying to find something solid to hold on to, anything to ground myself. Then I noticed a staircase leading even further up, disappearing into darkness. I hesitated, my instincts screaming to leave, but the letter in my hand felt heavy, compelling me to climb up. As I stepped on the staircase, the air grew colder, thick with tension and the weight of unspoken secrets. I could hear whispers now, many voices overlapping, echoing through the walls. "You can't escape." My heart pounded so loudly that I was sure it would give away my presence to whatever haunted this house. I felt the floorboards groan beneath me, as if warning me to turn back. The shadows stretched unnaturally around me, twisting and writhing with a life of their own. At the top of the stairs, I reached a hallway lined with more portraits, each one seeming to watch me, eyes following my every move. A door slightly ajar at the end of the hallway had light spilling from it, soft yet eerie, drawing me like a magnet. I pushed it open slowly, revealing a small study filled with old journals and letters scattered across the floor. The writing in them was familiar yet strange, chronicling events I had no memory of, but seemed tied to me somehow. I picked up a diary, flipping through pages filled with dark secrets, fears, and obsessions that felt all too real. The room seemed to breathe with me, each shadow moving slightly as if alive. A sudden cold breeze brushed against my shoulder, and I spun around, but the room remained empty. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, pleading, warning, and teasing all at once. A photograph on the desk caught my eye. It was me again, smiling, but the eyes looked hollow, lifeless. I stepped closer, heart pounding, as if drawn by the energy radiating from the paper. Suddenly, the shadows behind me shifted violently, and I realized the room wasn't empty after all. I could feel something just beyond the edge of my vision, moving, watching, patient. The letters on the desk seemed to rearrange themselves into words I couldn't read at first, then clear. "You cannot escape." Fear twisted in my stomach, and yet I couldn't turn away. I realized that every corner of this mansion held secrets, and each shadow was a piece of the puzzle I needed to solve. I knew then that the night was far from over, and the house wasn't finished with me yet. I slowly descended a narrow staircase hidden behind a tall bookshelf, the wood creaking ominously under my weight. The air grew colder the deeper I went, carrying the smell of damp and decay that made my stomach twist. At the bottom, a heavy wooden door stood, slightly open, with light spilling out in uneven streaks. I pushed it gently, my hands trembling, and saw a hidden room filled with old trunks, scattered papers, and strange artifacts. One trunk lay open, revealing photographs of people I recognized, my family, ancestors I had only heard about in hushed whispers. A diary lay on top, the pages yellowed and delicate, but the words were clear, telling stories of betrayal, obsession, and revenge. As I flipped through, I realized the events described had a strange connection to my own life, events I had long forgotten. A cold draft swept through the room, moving the papers as if they had a life of their own. I froze when I noticed a shadow at the corner, moving slowly, almost cautiously, yet impossible to ignore. It felt alive, aware, like it was studying me, calculating my every move.
The diary mentioned a figure exactly like the one I now saw, always lurking, always waiting. I wanted to run, but my feet felt heavy, glued to the floor, and fear gripped me like ice. Then a whisper reached my ears. The past always comes back. I turned quickly, but the shadow seemed to dissolve into darkness, leaving only the echo of its presence.
Every paper I touched seemed to pulse with some hidden energy, guiding me deeper into the secrets of the house. A photograph slipped from the trunk, landing at my feet. It was me, yet my eyes seemed different, hollow and fearful. I picked it up, trembling, and felt a cold sweat run down my back. The shadows seemed to stretch toward me, responding to my fear, growing longer and darker with every heartbeat. Then I heard a soft footstep behind me, deliberate, echoing across the stone floor. I spun around, but the room was empty, silent, except for the whispering that seemed to come from all directions. The walls themselves seemed to breathe, moving imperceptibly, alive with secrets and regrets of centuries past. I realized the mansion wasn't just a building, it was a repository for memories, fears, and unfinished business. Every object, every photograph, every shadow was tied to a story that demanded attention. I tried to leave, but the door slammed shut on its own, locking me inside the hidden room. Panic surged through me, my chest tight, and yet a part of me wanted to stay, to discover the truth. I noticed a small note tucked in the corner, its handwriting familiar yet strange. Face what you have hidden, or it will consume you. I felt a cold finger trace the line of my spine, though no one was there, and I shivered violently. The room seemed to whisper warnings and secrets all at once, a cacophony of voices that were impossible to ignore. I understood then that the past was alive, waiting for me to acknowledge it, to confront it, or be trapped forever. My hands shook as I searched the room, trying to find another exit, another way out of this suffocating darkness. The shadows shifted unnaturally around me, almost like they were alive, following every movement, stretching toward me like cold fingers. I stumbled over an old trunk, sending papers flying across the floor, and a photograph fluttered in the air before landing face down. A whisper echoed again, urgent this time. You can't escape. You are already part of it. My heart raced uncontrollably, my breaths shallow, and I felt panic clawing at my chest. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to steady myself, but the shadows seemed to close in, moving, stretching, suffocating. A sudden chill made my hair stand on end, and I could feel a presence directly behind me. I dared not turn, but a voice, almost familiar, whispered my name, soft and teasing, yet full of menace. I finally forced myself to look and saw nothing, yet the room felt different, heavier, as if the air itself carried malice. Then the diary on the floor flipped open violently, pages fanning themselves, stopping on the sentence that seemed written just for me. The truth will hurt. I stumbled back, my legs weak, realizing that every secret I had tried to forget was now alive before me. The mansion seemed to pulse, almost breathing, its darkness tangible, pressing into my mind, feeding on my fear. A cold gust of wind extinguished the candle I had been holding, plunging the room into deeper shadows. I could barely see, but the whispers continued, layering over one another in a deafening chorus. I reached out blindly for the trunk, hoping it might hold something I could use, something I could grasp to feel grounded. As I touched it, the shadow flickered, moving faster now, circling me, teasing me, daring me to act. A door at the far end of the room creaked open slowly, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. I hesitated, my mind screaming to flee, yet my feet moved toward it, drawn by something I couldn't explain.
each step downward felt like sinking deeper into the mansion's heart, into its secrets and obsessions of past. The walls seemed to whisper reminders of the past, accusing me, judging me for sins I couldn't remember committing. I reached a stone corridor lined with portraits of people I didn't know, yet their eyes felt accusingly familiar. A floorboard creaked, and I knew I wasn't alone. Something was moving just out of sight, waiting. The letters and photographs I had seen upstairs began to appear here, too, scattered along the hall, as if the house itself was guiding me. The air was so cold it felt like knives against my skin, and a sense of dread made my stomach turn. I stumbled into a larger room at the corridor's end, the shadows here thick and nearly alive, swirling around me. Then a single voice, louder and sharper than all the whispers combined, said clearly, "You belong here." I froze, realizing the mansion was not only alive, but aware of me, aware of every thought, every fear. The darkness shifted again, and I could feel the cold weight of unseen eyes on my back. I knew then that leaving wouldn't be simple, that every step I took was being watched, measured, and judged. Every instinct screamed to run, yet my curiosity and dread combined, compelling me to move further into the unknown. I descended the last staircase, the steps cold and slick beneath my fingers, the air thick with anticipation and dread. At the bottom, a massive door loomed, carved with strange symbols I couldn't recognize, pulsing as if alive. I pushed it open slowly, and the room beyond was filled with mirrors, all reflecting not me, but another version of myself, twisted and hollow-eyed. A whisper surrounded me, echoing from every direction. "You finally come, but the truth isn't what you think." I backed away, but my feet felt stuck to the floor, rooted by fear and fascination. Then the mirrors shifted, showing memories I had forgotten, moments of betrayal, secrets I had buried deep in my mind. I realized the mansion had been holding these memories, feeding on them, twisting them, making them tangible. A dark figure emerged from the largest mirror, moving toward me as if stepping out of reality itself. I wanted to scream, but my voice failed me, and the room seemed to absorb my terror. The figure stopped just inches from me, and I could see my own face reflected in it, pale and hollow, staring back with accusation. "You thought you could escape, but the past is part of you." I felt a cold wave overwhelm me, every memory, every fear crashing over my mind. Then I understood. The mansion was not evil. It was a mirror of myself, a place where all that I had ignored and hidden waited. The shadows receded slightly, and the whispers softened, leaving only the truth echoing in my mind. I reached out to the figure, trembling, and it dissolved into a mirror reflection of me, calm but aware. For the first time, I felt clarity, the terror replaced with understanding, though the chill remained. I looked around the room one last time, seeing every shadow, every object, every memory in a new light. The mansion had tested me, shown me what I feared, and now it released me, though the memory would never leave. I climbed back upstairs, stepping into the first floor as sunlight began to seep through the broken windows. The gate outside swung open, and I walked back into the street, the photograph still in my hand, my heart finally slowing. Though I had survived the mansion's trial, I knew the shadows, the whispers, and the secrets would follow me, always a part of who I had become. Finally, after facing every shadow and secret in the mansion, Jenny stepped outside into the first light of dawn, her heart still racing, but her mind clearer. The mansion behind her looked quiet now, almost ordinary, yet she knew the darkness inside would never truly leave her. The photograph in her hand reminded her that the past is always a part of us, whether we remember it or not. Even though the whispers and shadows had faded, she could still feel their presence, lingering like a faint chill in the air. The experience had changed her, made her braver, and more aware of the mysteries hidden in ordinary places. She took a deep breath, letting the sunlight warm her face, and promised herself she would never ignore the lessons learned in the darkness. Sometimes, facing fear is the only way to understand ourselves, and Jenny had done exactly that. As she walked away from the mansion, she felt a strange mix of relief and curiosity, wondering what secrets might still be waiting in the shadows. The story wasn't just about fear, it was about courage, discovery, and the power of confronting the unknown. And with that, our dark, suspenseful journey comes to an end, for now.
Now that we've finished our dark and suspenseful story, let's take a moment to look at some important vocabulary and phrasal verbs from the story. I'll explain each word naturally, give examples, and show you how to use them in your own English. One word we heard a lot in the story is shadow. A shadow is a dark shape that appears when light is blocked. For example, I saw a shadow moving in the hallway, which creates mystery and suspense. You can also say the tree's shadow covered the garden in everyday situations. Another word is whisper. Whisper means to speak very softly. For example, I heard a whisper behind the door, which makes the scene tense. You can also say, please whisper in the library in normal conversation. Chill is another word from the story. It means a sudden feeling of cold or fear. For example, a chill ran down her spine when she heard the noise. In daily life, you could say, the night wind gave me a chill. Dread means a strong feeling of fear or worry about something bad that might happen. In the story, she felt dread entering the dark room. You can also say, I felt dread before giving the presentation. Presence is a word we use when something or someone is nearby or seems to be there. For example, I could feel a presence behind me, meaning you sense someone even if you can't see them. Daily use, the teacher's presence in the classroom was calming. Hollow describes something empty inside or lacking emotion. In the story, her eyes looked hollow in the mirror. In normal English, the tree trunk was hollow inside. Decay means the process of rotting or breaking down. For example, the mansion smelled of decay. Daily use, the fruit started to decay after a few days. Pulse can mean a beat or rhythm, often of life or energy. The photograph seemed to pulse with energy. Everyday use, I could feel my pulse after running. Obsession means thinking about something constantly, often in an unhealthy way. He was obsessed with uncovering the mansion's secrets. Daily, she's obsessed with that new song. Beneath means under something. In the story, I descended the staircase hidden beneath the bookshelf. Daily use, the cat hid beneath the table. Compel means to force or push someone to do something. The letter compelled her to keep going. Every day, curiosity compelled me to open the old book. Rooted means stuck in one place or unable to move. My feet felt rooted to the floor in fear. Every day, the tree was rooted firmly in the ground. Pulse also refers to energy or life. The mansion seemed to pulse as I walked. You could say the city pulsed with excitement at night. Terrifying means extremely scary. The shadow was terrifying in the dark hallway. Daily use, the thunderstorm was terrifying for the children. Reveal means to show or make known. The final room revealed all the mansion's secrets. Every day, the magician revealed the secret trick. Echo means a sound that repeats. The footsteps echoed through the hallway. Every day, her voice echoed in the empty room. Now let's focus on some phrasal verbs.
Come across means to find something unexpectedly. I came across an old photograph in the mansion. Daily, I came across a great article online. Step forward means to move ahead or take action. She stepped forward into the light despite fear. Daily, step forward if you want to answer. Back away means to move backward, usually in fear. I backed away slowly from the shadow. Every day, he backed away from the dog cautiously. Turn around means to change direction. I turned around quickly when I heard a noise. Every day, turn around and look at the view behind you. Face up to means to confront a problem or fear. She had to face up to the mansion's secrets. Daily, you need to face up to your responsibilities. Break down means to lose emotional control. She broke down after reading the letter. Every day, he broke down when he lost his wallet. Lock up means to secure something by locking. I locked up the door in fear. Every day, don't forget to lock up the house. Run into means to meet unexpectedly. I ran into a dark figure in the hallway. Daily, I ran into my old friend at the market. Give in means to surrender or accept reluctantly. He gave in to fear and didn't move. Daily, I gave in and ate the chocolate. Move in means to enter a new place. The shadows seemed to move in and surround her. Daily, we moved into the new apartment last week. Look around means to observe the surroundings. I looked around the attic for clues. Daily, I looked around the store for the item. Hold on means to wait or stay firm. Hold on, I need to check the door. Daily, hold on, I'll be right there. Carry on means to continue. She carried on exploring despite her fear. Daily, carry on with your homework, please. Turn down means to refuse. He turned down the offer to leave the mansion. Daily, I turned down the invitation politely. Bring back means to return or remind. The photograph brought back memories. Daily, this song brings back childhood memories. Look out means to be careful. Look out, the floor is slippery. Daily, look out for cars when you cross the street. Run away means to escape. The figure tried to run away from me. Daily, the cat ran away when it saw the dog. Set up means to arrange or prepare. The shadow seemed set up to trap me. Daily, we set up the table for dinner. Break in means to enter forcibly. It felt like the mansion wanted to break in on her mind. Daily, someone tried to break in last night. Give out means to stop working or be used up. Her energy gave out after running through the mansion. Daily, the battery gave out in the middle of the trip. Thank you so much for joining me today on English with Lisaa. I hope you enjoyed this thrilling story and felt every moment of suspense and mystery along with me. Don't forget, learning English through stories like this helps you understand new vocabulary, phrasal verbs, and expressions naturally. If you liked this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more exciting stories and English lessons. Comment below and tell me which part of the mansion scared you the most. It's always fun to hear your thoughts. Remember, repetition is key, so go back to the story and practice using the new words and phrasal verbs we learned today. Every story we explore together helps you improve your English while keeping it fun and suspenseful. If you want more stories with vocabulary and phrasal verbs explained, check out our playlist for English learners. Thank you again for being part of our journey, and I can't wait to see you in the next thrilling story. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and remember, English can be fun, mysterious, and exciting.